There is a hidden crisis unfolding right now, not on Wall Street and not on the battlefield, but in the sterile, fluorescent halls of America's airports. The official narrative says global travel is booming, recovering, and setting records. And that is true for the entire world, except for one nation, the United States. For decades, the American vacation was the undisputed global dream. Now that dream is collapsing. It is a catastrophic, quantifiable failure with logical roots. And the world is responding its travel advisories and its empty airplane seats. The cold, hard as a shocking verdict, the United States is now the only major economy among 184 countries forecast to experience declining international visitor spending this year. Let that sink in. Every other major destination is America is shrinking. Our investigation begins with the numbers that Washington doesn't want you to see. After recovering to nearly pre-pandemic levels in 2024, reversed, March 2025 arrivals plummeted 14% year over year. Western Europe, the market of the deepest pockets, dropped 17.2%. Germany alone fell a brutal 28%. The logical consequence, projected 0.5 billion loss in visitor spending this year, but it gets worse. For the first time in years, the US is staring down a 50 billion travel trade deficit. That means Americans are taking their money and spending it overseas at a record pace, while the world simultaneously refuses to come here. It is a terrifying double drain, a logical equation that spells economic disaster for every city, attraction, and small business dependent on international dollars. But statistics only tell half the story. To understand this collapse, we must look beyond the money and into the horrifying truth of why people are canceling their flights. The core problem is not cost, it is the infrastructure of hostility. The magnetic pull that once drew Visser has been replaced by a systemic, calculated rejection of welcome. Consider the devastating, real-life stories emerging from the US border. Stories that are now going viral, acting as anti-ambassadors for the American experience. Take the case of Jessica Brocha, a 29-year-old German tattoo artist with valid tourist papers. She was detained by border agents for 45 days, including 8 days in solitary confinement. Her alleged crime, having tattoos and an alternative appearance. The message sent back to Germany. America is actively targeting people who look different. Then there is the equally disturbing story of Lukas Selov, another 25-year-old German tourist. Detained for 16 days due to confusion over a language barrier, his family was forced to scramble nearly 3,000 for his forced deportation flight. The message to his friends back home was clear: skip America. But the rot runs even deeper, affecting people who thought they were safe. Fabian Schmidt, a permanent resident with a valid green card, was detained at Boston Logan, treated like and held in a detention center. A legal resident, someone who calls the US home, suddenly imprisoned at his own airport. These are not isolated incidents, they are systemic. Attorney Stephen Yeller dropped the bombshell. Customs and Border Protection has become much more vigilant, reviewing everyone's credentials since the recent political shift. This is the dangerous aspect of the crisis: is systematic policy, not random chance, and it is actively destroying the country's global reputation. The chilling words of Pedro Reyes, a 22-year veteran of border work, should terrify every business owners. I never seen travelers from Western Europe and Canada, longtime US allies, locked up like this. These detention stories are not just headlines, they are direct causes of the economic collapse, creating a multiplication effect where every single mistreated tourist leads to hundreds of canceled trips, family and colleagues. Now, you have heard the shocking stories of individual travelers being treated like criminals, but to truly grasp the scale of this crisis, you need to follow the money and the planes. Because what the airlines are the people actually do, the cold, hard math of profitability, is far more tank than any politician's speech. The airline industry isn't waiting for diplomacy. This is the critical moment in the collapse, the point of no return for international connectivity. Listen to this play. Airlines announced the nuclear option, complete US market exit by October 2025. Every single route, Stewart, Baltimore, all abandoned. Their CEO's explanation was brutally honest: the North American market was simply less successful. Translation: their customers don't want to risk American detention. The European exodus accelerates weekly. Condor Airlines eliminated 6 North American routes overnight. Lufthansa is restructuring away from America. KLM and Air France are reducing capacity. This isn't a temporary reduction, it's a strategic retreat. And the Canadian collapse is absolutely apocalyptic. WestJet has suspended 9 US routes, with bookings down a staggering 70% through September 2025. Their executives explicitly blamed the political climate and the resulting loss in demand. When an airline names a president in their route cancellation announcement, you know this crisis is personal, political, and irreversible in the short term. Air Canada followed suit, axing 5 crucial cross-border routes, severing connections between neighboring cities that have been linked for generations. The most damning piece of knowledge, Norse Atlantic, which launched 24 US routes since 2022, has already eliminated half of them. A 50% failure rate in 3 years. This means secondary American cities, Baltimore, Minneapolis, Phoenix, and ghost towns, watching the expensive international tunnels they built for growth now reverse at breakneck speed. This is more than a dip, it's a wholesale evacuation of the skies. You should be horrified what we reveal by the end of this video, because these flight cancellations are not just of your planes. They are about a terminal diagnosis for entire American economic ecosystems. International visitors average 4,000 per trip, spending on luxury hotels, premium experiences, and expensive restaurants. They're the high-octane fuel for the tourism engine. When they vanish, the entire system chokes. Car crashed from 43% of property showing a gain down to 32%. That's thousands of businesses sliding toward bankruptcy. Cities like Los Angeles watch Asian tourism evaporate. South American connections with her. New York, the Great Gateway, reports drops approaching 20%. But the most fascinating and terrifying fact is happening in the smaller towns. Flagstaff, Arizona, booming from international tourist dollars, has completely abandoned international marketing. They've accepted their new reality, Americans only. Sedona and Aspen report similar defensive pivots. The logical calculation is complete. The risk and cost of targeting international tourists now outweighs the reward. The international money is gone, and the local businesses must adapt or die. The crisis has swept those global commerce. Convention centers report a stealth crisis. International conference attendance is reorganizing away from America entirely. Major tech summits are adding Canadian or European venues. The message is subtle but powerful. Important international gatherings need non-American options to ensure attendees, from scientists and doctors to engineers, are not detained at the border. Even universities are sounding the alarm. International student applications. Hakarna's families fear their children being arrested at the airport. An admissions director confided that parents are asking, "Can you guarantee my child won't be arrested at the airport?" The logical answer is a chilling no. This entire collapse is not a perception issue, as the U.S. Travel Association claims. It is a measurable collapse of reputation. The 2025 Global Index measuring national influence delivers a verdict, while the U.S. still ranks high in economic power, for the attribute of being friendly. It now ranks a dismal 124th in the world. When the government of Germany officially warns citizens about being detained despite having valid visas, all the market in the world cannot fix that wound. The solution isn't complex, but it requires something able off admitting error. Real reform means retraining the 50,000 border agents. The Government Accountability Office report already confirmed that the CBP's own records were so unreliable they couldn't confirm if their officers had completed the required training. This isn't just about bad policy. It's a documented failure and accountability. The irony is suffocating America spends billions can ains out diversity and welcome then undoes everything in arrival halls nationwide. One detention erases 1,000 beautiful advertisements. The ultimate takeaway, the final truth, is this: the world is learning to vacation without America. Once that habit forms, reversing it becomes exponentially harder. This isn't just an economic blip, it is the permanent end of American tourism dominance. The question isn't whether recovery is possible, but whether the US wants to recover. Because fixing this requires acknowledging that current policies are actively destroying tourism, that allied relationships are fracturing, and that the economic damage compounds every single day. The world hasn't given up on America yet, but the time for repair is running out. And that brings us to the end of this logical, fact-based investigation into the collapse of one of the world's most powerful economic engines. If you want to understand the mysteries of the world, from global economic paradoxes to the terrifying logical failures that underpin our society, then you're in the right place. This is Oddworld Files. If you're new here and crave this kind of deep dive, science-based analysis on the world's most complex issues, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button now. You won't want to miss what we decode next.